We're on a mission to feed the future by helping farmers worldwide be more resilient, more productive, more sustainable for generations to come. Corteva Agriscience. Keep growing.
It's time for RealAg Radio on Rural Radio Channel 147 on Sirius XM. RealAg Radio and RealAgriculture.com is your home for insight and analysis of the issues that are impacting your farm business. Let's get real and get connected with RealAg Radio. Welcome to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio 147 at Sirius XM. Shaun Haney, your host here on this Thursday edition of the show. Thanks so much, everybody, for making RealAg Radio and Rural Radio 147 a big part of your workday. It's the Farmer Rapid Fire today, and of course, that's brought to you by Corteva Crop Protection. Cross-spectrum herbicides from Corteva. Checking all the boxes for cereal growers, cross-spectrum herbicides deliver grass and broadleaf weed control in a powerful, all-in-one solution. Learn more by going to corteva.ca. Today on the Farmer Rapid Fire, we got a great lineup. We've got Warren Schneckenburger out of Ontario, Dan Petker out of Ontario, John Kowalchuk out of Alberta, Jeff Elders out of Manitoba, and we'll be joined by technical sales agronomist for Corteva in southern Saskatchewan, Rhett Duke. If you have any feedback on today's program, you can send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com. Let's start off this week's Farmer Rapid Fire in Norfolk, Ontario. We're talking to Dan Petker. Hey, Dan, how are we doing?
Wonderful. How are you, Shaun?
Pretty good. Okay, so, hey, let's start off with the weather. How's it cooperating there?
It is finally 16 degrees. I think we'll hit 17, hopefully. And sun's shining, and there's no wind, which is a obscenely rare occurrence here. And so it's perfect season timing to top dress our wheat.
Oh, nice. Okay, so you're that's what you're doing today?
Yeah. Just keep my dad going and stop him from yelling at me.
It's a test of the relationship early in the season, is it?
Oh, yeah, especially when it's the first kind of go about in some equipment that we haven't run for, months.
Yeah, that's one of the issues too, right? We get the stuff out in the field, and we have to sort of even though we've been doing this for a long time, we got to reorient ourselves to some of the equipment.
Always have to reacclimate. Yeah, but it's going really well now, and it's just, it's a stunning day. Saw my first hummingbird, so spring is here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Leaves on the trees?
Yeah. We're just starting to bud out. So, along the lake here, the lake is still really cold, like Lake Erie. So we have warm air temps, but our nights cool right off. So we're always behind everyone around us. And, but you start to see just like that, the first hopeful signs of spring.
How far are you from starting to plant?
Well, if it doesn't rain, which is supposed to on Friday, if it didn't rain, we'd be 10 days, 2 weeks.
Okay. And do you start with beans or corn?
Whatever's fit.
Okay.
So, I run 2 planters, whatever field is first fit. If the bean ground is ready to go, we roll. And if the corn ground's ready to go, then we do there. And I've always had we've had this planter now for 10, 12 years. And I've always had the hopes of having 200 acres of beans before the corn starts. And never worked out for some reason. I don't know why. One year I will.
Do you have a preference for which one you like? If you had your control of Mother Nature, would you put beans in before corn?
Yeah. Well, and because especially here, beans are daylight sensitive. So if I could hit 5 to 6 trifoliates of beans by the summer solstice, we've maximized our vegetative potential, and then it just goes all reproductive. And that's. We've always found the earlier the beans are, the yields are higher. That is the trend.
Interesting.
Yeah, we've been chasing that early plant beans for years and years.
Kind of curious, when you say whatever's fit, is the definition of fit different for corn versus beans, or are they the same?
Well, it's just you don't want sidewall smear. The ground's got to be relatively warm, and since we no-till. A lot of all our soybeans are surface moisture is slower to leave just because of all the residue. But you just you go for a walk and you squeeze it, and if the dirt stays in a ball, well, it's not fit.
Are you putting are you putting more corn in the ground than previously from a ratio perspective?
Yeah, we are actually. And that was just a game plan that I was feeling it this fall when we were harvesting corn, and I just thought we're going to tweak a little bit of rotational stuff, but it's the market right now is paying me a little bit better for corn too, and that's just dumb luck, that one. but we are we want to just kind of get some rotational blocks going better than what they are.
Yeah. And any other changes this year on the farm?
No, actually, it's right now we're holding steady on this one. Expenses are a little tight, or I guess income is a little tight.
Yeah.
And it's the common theme worldwide of we don't quite get enough to do what we want to do.
Yeah.
And, maybe that's the only other change. We're going to go finally buy an excavator, and we're all excited.
What are you going to use that for?
Clear some tree lines, clear some houses that have burned down, and just general, tile fix and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. And any marketing advice you have for the rest of us to figure out what's going on?
Yeah, we should have all marketed more before, I guess. But no, I think it's still have a firm line on your cost of production and your lifestyle that you want to live, and market against it. And I've suggested to big or small guys when they are trying to get price quotes from retail, be way more aggressive on getting it in a timely manner. Here, planting will start in the next week on the sands, and there's some guys who still don't have pricing for crop protection.
Really?
And, that's just ignorant to me. And I had mine in January, but you have I've taught my retails. I send out a quote sheet, and if you don't respond within 2 weeks, you don't get the business this spring.
Right. Oh, so that's that's kind of how you manage it.
Yeah, and again, I think people have to be more aggressive, even if they're small timers. Our dollars are too skinny right now.
So is that the pricing's out? Is it not from?
Oh yeah, it's out. I don't know why. Yeah, it's been out for ages.
Maybe there could be an element there of trying to figure out how much you're going to have sold, so you know kind of where you fit in that black box calculation.
Yep, that's it, right? And so it goes both ways, but
that makes sense.
But if you don't know a vague number of what your acre cost is, then you don't know a vague number of what you should sell.
Yeah. As somebody that sold seed in a prior life, I understand what those retails are going through. Your number your cost can swing considerably, which impacts what you can afford to offer for a price to your customers.
Yeah.
It's a real kind of double-edged sword. You're caught.
It's a tough one. Yeah. And I always, I suggest to our sales agronomists and stuff, just be upfront that way.
Yeah.
We're all here to make a buck, and we're all going to do well by doing well with each other.
Now you're a pretty good agronomist yourself. Do you have an agronomist that helps you out as well?
He passed away a long time ago, the one who taught me. And, but my whole goal on the farm has been not to really need anyone. Mm-hmm. And, my wife says that's insane. And so I have a couple of private guys who, we will call each other on, just weird random thoughts, and if we can pursue things, or we've done a lot of experimentation, and let's say these early beans, this topic is it seems like it's a hot topic now, but I mean, early beans and pushing them early before corn is nothing new. And, but now I see agronomists trying to say, you should be planting your beans early. Well, yeah, all the data has told us that for 25 years.
To just circle back to that wheat, how does the stand look?
Remarkable.
That's what I've been hearing from people. That's what I've been hearing, and not just Wheat Pete, because he's biased, but I'm hearing this from farmers.
Yeah. Well, and that's so. We had a lot of snow, a lot more than what we're used to. A very long winter, like what I'm used to for growing up. So we have drowned out spots, but they're always around. But where the wheat is there, it is nice.
Wow. Oh, that's encouraging.
Yeah, in a big way.
Long ways from the bin, though.
Oh, sure, but some of it's already sold, so it's got to be there.
Oh, nice. Do you market reasonably aggressive, or how would you describe it? You do, eh? Okay.
Yeah, like if I can find, I start selling 3 years ahead if I can find a contract.
Wow.
Yeah, not a lot, but just a little bit.
Yeah.
Like
dip your toe.
Yeah, and just, you sell a little against the seed cost or something like that, just to have it there.
Yeah.
And like 5-6% real early, and then aggressive the year of planting, and then hold on to a little bit. But
to wrap up here, Dan, any election predictions for next week?
Somebody's going to be angry and somebody's going to be sad. It doesn't matter which way it goes.
It's pretty much describes it, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's funny when you watch the news and you read the stuff, and it seems like the divides are so extreme. But you hang out with, I hung out with guys from Alberta and Saskatchewan for a few weeks ago, and here I am, a liberal-leaning rural Ontario guy, so I feel like I'm alone, but we got along famously, and our end goals all align. It's just approach.
Yep. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, don't get angry at each other. That's my biggest thing. Just chill out.
Let's try to be a little happier. That's right. I think your description, someone's going to be happy, someone's going to be sad. No matter what happens, that's pretty much it. Hey, Dan, thanks so much for joining us here. All the best to you during planting, okay?
Thanks, brother. Yeah, have a great one, man.
Hey, we'll be right back here on RealAg Radio for the rest of the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Corteva Crop Protection.
Peter Johnson at Wheat Pete, RealAgriculture.com, and what an opportunity! Oh my gosh! You think you can't grow better wheat? You are absolutely wrong. We're going to show you how to strive for those record wheat yields that they get in the UK and in New Zealand. You can grow 150 bushel wheat. I'll show you how.
Catch Wheat Pete's Word every Wednesday on RealAgriculture.com or download the podcast on iTunes or Spotify.
It's time for today's product spotlight, and joining me now is Jason Mann. He's president of Genesis Fertilizers. Transportation costs obviously are a huge component of the price of fertilizer. So how does leveraging the Port of Churchill and the Hudson's Bay Railway, so through the Arctic Gateway Group, how does this help reduce the cost and provide more stable access to fertilizer for prairie farmers specifically?
So we're trying to open up new supply channels. There's not many suppliers in the market of phosphate today. So if we have the competitiveness of being able to go buy Panamax vessels from a supplier overseas, we should be able to get a better purchase price. We can have a little bit more efficient logistics. So if we can get it here on a vessel to Churchill, then we're really talking about maybe only 1,000 miles of rail to get it into Western Canada. And likely at a better rail rate. Because we're having this partnership with Arctic Gateway Group, we'd be looking at favorable rail rates for a large portion of that trackage from Churchill down to the Paw.
For anyone who's looking for more information, head on over to the Genesis Fertilizers website.
And we continue our trip across the country here for the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Corteva Crop Protection. Next, we're stopping in Morrisburg, Ontario, and we're talking to Warren Schneckenburger. Warren, how are we doing?
Not too bad, Shaun. Things are starting to warm up here in the east.
Nice. Well, it is almost the end of April, Warren.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. The calendar keeps marching ahead, whether or not we're ready for spring or not.
Yeah. Are you ready for spring?
Very close. I'm actually just right when you called, I was putting the streamer nozzles on the sprayer, hoping to head to the field to feed some winter wheat tomorrow, and tomorrow anyways.
Well,
we'll see when.
We were just talking to Dan Petker, and he's out putting nitrogen on wheat.
Yep. Yeah, I guess a few in our area went last week, but they're a split up crowd. I'm going once and done this year.
Yeah. Okay, so well, hey, how does your wheat look?
Phenomenal. Very happy with the winter survival.
Yeah.
We had a lot of snow this year, much more than the last few years. But things seem to, the water got away underneath the lice problem, so a little bit of geese damage, but that's normal for us. And I'm quite pleased up until now. And I think it still has all 9 lives, so we can kill it a few times before harvest. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the typical planted versus harvested ratio is in Ontario, but every single farmer that we have talked to from Ontario about what does your wheat look like? It's phenomenal. It's great. Fantastic. It just,
Yeah.
Typically there is some pockets where there's some problems. I haven't heard about those yet.
On the weekend for Easter, I traveled across the province down towards Dan Petker's area, and I did not see very many fields of winter wheat that I wouldn't be happy to own.
Yeah. Any changes to the crop rotation at all this year?
No, it's pretty, it's my rotation's based around logistics and our local basis. So we do have a little bit of swing acres between corn and soybeans, but, based on the markets right now and the unpredictability we have, I think we'll just stick with the plan.
Yeah. And I think that's a common, like, I don't know. I talk to a lot of farmers on a regular basis here for the show. And I think that's kind of common is there's like the pricing considerations and, P&Ls, and that's important. But there's also like the managing the overall equipment cost versus like how do you stretch out harvest? And so you'll see people in, say, Manitoba putting in things like sunflowers, right? Because they're a late harvest, and just kind of it's managing the logistics.
Yep, absolutely. I guess one change for this year is that we don't have edible beans. We have grown them the last many years, but
you scrapped them.
The market scrapped it for us. Yeah. When the buyer says they don't want to buy any, there's no point in growing them.
Yeah, a lot of times growing the crop's the easy part.
That's right.
Getting them picked up and sold, that's where rubber hits the road.
Exactly. So we'll just be a corn, soy, wheat farm this year, and that's fine.
We've been hearing we've been hearing more people putting corn in. Is that the case on your farm too, or not?
Well, like I said, we're a very heavy corn farm simply because we have 2 end users within 25 kilometers of the farm here.
Oh.
So our basis says grow corn, but you have to rotate also. You can only grow so much continuous corn.
Yeah. So, with us being pretty close to putting some seed in the ground, planting is right around the corner. How do you see 25 right now?
Looks like a pretty standard spring to me. We haven't planted much before the 10th of May the last 5 years. It just seems to be the weather pattern we're in. We seem to get these reasonably warm Aprils, but like every night it goes down to almost freezing. So our clay soils don't warm up until they don't dry up, I should say, until they hit about 10 degrees Celsius. So that old wives' tale of don't plant corn until it's 10 sort of does matter on our shallow, heavier soil. But my wheat this year's on our one and only sandy farm, so it's actually a bit ahead of the game. But I think we'll be rolling that first week of May. Be a soft start, looks like, by the forecast. It all depends on whether or not you can trust the forecast.
So, from your farm standpoint, how much variability do you have in soil types?
We're quite consistent. About 2/3 of our farm are a fairly shallow clay over hardpan. They're tiled, but it's still poorly drained. The water goes through slowly. So our land does tend to drain a bit slower than even 10 minutes north of where we farm a lot of our land. But we have everything from muck to sand to clay and everything in between.
Yeah, and that's definitely a factor, right? That soil type, it plays a role in how you manage the crop throughout the season.
Absolutely. Patience on like our home farm along the 401 corridor here is a lot of our heavier land, and you got to be patient.
Yeah.
We go to the equipment dealers up north, and you see everyone rolling on the silty loams and the nice lighter ground, and you gotta tell yourself 2 more days. But sometimes it's easier said than done.
Did you trade any equipment for this upcoming season?
Nope. No, not this year. We made some moves last year, and we had intended to do some more upgrades at the grain elevator, which we've been working on the last few years. But with the threat of, I'm not even sure what you want to call this, tariff war, we decided to cancel at our last exit point and push for another year. It's just way too much risk. In my opinion.
Go with what you have.
Exactly. Well, yeah, with the improvements we made last year, improved harvest capacity quite significantly. So we'll carry on those coattails. We invested in the storage first. It was more just in handling upgrades for this year, but we'll survive another year.
Yeah, it's definitely something I think a lot of farms are dealing with. It's easy to, I guess, just push the decision on what to do with some of the equipment you've had for a while, and everybody's context of that is differently. For some people, it's 6 months, and for some people, it's 15 years.
Yep.
But
I tend to be the 15-year guy.
Yeah, and that's everybody's set up differently. That's absolutely fine. But the challenge is, I'm curious how long, because once you get caught in that routine, it's easier and easier to push. But the other part of that too is trying to manage your repair and maintenance costs potentially too. This is no different than somebody living in the city in Toronto and trying to figure out if they should trade their vehicle or keep on driving it. It gets to a certain amount of kilometers. The equivalent of how we talk about tractors with hours. It's just an interesting, easy to do this year, or easier, I guess. It's the 26 decision or 27 if you keep on pushing that. It's just kind of something I think about. It's just, and everybody's going to manage it differently, but just something I've thought about a lot.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely something. Purchasing equipment is not as easy as it used to be. That's for sure.
Well, it's not cheaper anyway. That's
a
for
lot
sure.
more to think about.
Yeah. Well, are you good with the wrench? Do you guys do a lot of your own maintenance?
Yeah. We have a farm shop. We have 2 or 3 people going with wrenches right now.
Yeah.
But I'm also not afraid to. I sent my sprayer to the dealer this winter for the first time, and it came back. I'm sure it came back with about a $15,000 bill, but at least it came back fixed.
Well, that's true. I bet we should be maybe doing a RealAg shops over there at Schneckenburger Farms.
Oh, Bernie's been harassing me all winter. We'll get him over here.
Oh, that Bern Tobin, he's relentless. He is relentless. Oh, it's a popular series. People really enjoy it, and lots of questions, and great talk about all of it. So, hey, Warren, thanks a lot for joining. Oh, I got to ask you one more question. Any predictions or thoughts on?
Last question?
Yeah, well, I almost forgot to ask you. Next week's election. Any thoughts, predictions?
I think we're going to have to stay up late on, was it Monday night? I don't think we'll have a predicted winner by 9 o'clock like there was in the provincial election. I'll tell you that much. At least here in Ontario. Yeah. I think she's going to be right down to the wire, and I don't think anyone could honestly tell you what the outcome will be.
Could be pretty tight. Hey, Warren, thanks a lot for joining us here. We'll talk to you when some of that seed pops out of the ground, okay?
Perfect. Thanks, Shaun.
Great stuff. That is Warren Schneckenburger. He is out of Morrisburg, Ontario. We've got more coming up here on the Farmer Rapid Fire on RealAg Radio, brought to you by Corteva Crop Protection.
I'm Lindsay Smith from RealAgriculture.com. Join me Monday nights for The Agronomist, a 1-hour live and interactive show broadcast across YouTube, Facebook, and X. Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, I host expert agronomists from all over the country to give you answers to some of the toughest agronomic questions. Join us live or catch the replay Tuesday morning. That's The Agronomist with me, Lindsay Smith, Monday nights live at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Get all the information you need to keep your pulse crop healthy and profitable with the Pulse School on RealAgriculture.com. The Pulse School is a free YouTube video series covering agronomy, research, and more across a host of different pulse crops. It's also available as an audio podcast wherever you download or stream your favorite podcast. Check us out on YouTube or visit RealAgriculture.com. The Pulse School, brought to you by BSF Canada.
It's summertime, and you've got a lot of important decisions to make when it comes to your corn crop. Let the Corn School on RealAgriculture.com help guide you through those big decisions with input from leading experts in the field. If it's spray timing, disease identification, or any other field issue, The Corn School's got you covered. The Corn School on RealAgriculture.com. Brought to you by BASF and Pride Seeds.
And we continue our journey across Canada here on the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Corteva Crop Protection. Up next, we're going to stop in Wawanesa, Manitoba, and we're talking to Jeff Elder. Jeff, how are we doing?
Doing good. Sunny day. Things are springing here. We had a little bit of rain and mixed snow yesterday, but we're on our way towards seeding here.
It's still a lot of variability in the weather, it seems, but we're more days than not, it's starting to feel a little bit like spring.
Yes, it definitely does. We've had a few really nice days, and we had a lot of snow. We started the year with a lot of snow in the middle of November, and it went in a nice orderly fashion. And we got a nice shot of rain, so we're fixed decently for moisture here. And I think the frost is out of the ground. We just need it to dry up again, and away we go.
How far are you from putting seed in the ground?
I think I'm a week away if the weather cooperates. I have a bunch of tile lines to fill in and a little bit of fertilizing to finish. And then I'm going to turn my attention to getting the seed in the ground. And next thing you know, we'll be worried about spraying.
And what crop do you usually start with?
I try to start with my barley if the fields allow it. I like to get my wheat and barley in early, and I found barley really benefits from getting an early start. If we can get it flowering and headed out before the July heat, seems to work well here, and then it also helps spread out harvest a little more. The barley will be, a week or 10 days ready before, say, the wheat is, and so we can get a little separation there and not have everything pile up in the same week.
Yeah. Now, is that malt barley or feed barley?
Malt barley. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know a few growers that have malt barley. That's where they start. So I got to ask you, it makes sense to miss that July heat window during flowering. Other people have also told me, though, they start with the crop that they feel gives them the opportunity to make the best money. Now, is that the case with malt barley with you?
Well, there's a couple of ways I could answer that. I guess malt barley has always made us decent money here, almost always. But I don't pick crops based on what I think pick the seeding date based on what I might make from the crop. I just stick to the agronomics and what works best logistically. That seems to be the way it goes. And other crops benefit. We also, besides barley and wheat, we have canola and soybeans. I found life is a little simpler sowing my canola later on in May, solely for the flea beetle situation that seems to happen most springs.
Yeah.
And soybeans are kind of that happy in between. You won't want to, I don't like putting them in too early. I do what I can to lower my risk, not raise it. So, if we could hit that mid-May seeding for beans, still lots of opportunity for it to mature in good time before any fall frost risk, usually.
Yeah, this is the big gamble with canola all the time, right? You have two choices. One, you seed later to avoid the flea beetles because the weather is warmer and the crop's more aggressive in its growth. But then you also have to deal with that hot July temperature during flowering and creating heat blast. And so you got to just make a choice.
Yes, no, that's right. and it's different for everybody, where they're located and what their feeling is, what they think is more, they'll have more risk from, I guess.
Yeah. And you mentioned the one word we've heard a few times today and other weeks is logistics. A lot of these decisions come down to logistics, right? How much, equipment capacity do I have? What can I handle? There's a manpower situation, but there's also the equipment side of it. Do I need to stretch out harvest? Do I need to stretch out planting? The logistics comes so much into this.
It does. It can greatly affect what you can and can't do. In an ideal world, we'd have time for everything to get done the way we wanted it, when we wanted it. But there's only so many hours in a day and only so many good days in a week.
Yeah.
And only one of those we know. There's 24 hours in a day, but we don't really want to use them all for figuring out logistics.
No. When we get into planting, do you push pretty hard, or do you how do you approach it? Like, some people are like, well, we only work X amount of days, X amount of hours in the day, and we tend to, some people take Saturday afternoon off, if more people would take Sunday off. Some people go 7 days a week. They push hard. And of course, Mother Nature plays a role here too. But how do you approach it?
Well, differently now than I did 25 years ago. I used to push pretty hard. We maybe didn't have as efficient an equipment set up as we do now. Again, ironing out some logistics. So now, we'll go in daylight hours as long as there isn't a big weather crunch or we're feeling the pressure because we've had a big weather delay. And if everything is looking good, maybe we'll take a day off on the weekend and just get away from the farm, or at least get away from the farming. And just refresh ourselves. Makes sense.
And you kind of developed that perspective over getting some seasons under your belt, so to speak.
Yeah. Apparently that happens over the years.
Nice stuff. Well, hey, any predictions on next week's election?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me a hockey question.
Well, we could do that too. Who are you cheering for in the Stanley Cup playoffs? The Jets, I would assume.
You would assume right. Yeah, big Jets fan. Been a lot of fun to watch them this season, and I've got high hopes.
Yeah, they're looking good. What, they got a 2-0 lead, right?
Yeah, no, that's right. And they're so much fun to watch when they're clicking, and yeah, I have high hopes. I hope it's their year.
Okay, so there's that. Now let's handle the election. What's your thought there?
Damn, I thought I sidestepped.
Not so easy, Jeff. Not so easy. And if it makes you feel any better, everybody is sidestep. So what I've heard a lot of is it seems pretty close, too close to call, and yeah.
I feel like I feel like we could be headed for a minority government.
Oh.
And if you had asked me in the beginning of January, I would have felt reasonably confident that it was time for a change, and the Conservatives would probably have a majority. But things have changed, and I don't know. And I'm not a real political person. In fact, I don't like a lot of politics, but things have changed, and I don't know what's right anymore.
Yeah, I think probably if you looking at a lot of the polls and stuff like that, minority government wouldn't be out of the question, and it's a case of who makes that, who forms that. It would essentially be, if it was a liberal minority government, probably would be the bloc, and that'll be fascinating. But yeah, we'll watch with great interest. Really appreciate you joining us here today, Jeff. Thanks a lot. And hey, good luck with seeding and planting time, and we'll talk to you once that seed gets out of the ground, okay?
Thanks a lot, Shaun. Great talking to you, as always.
Yeah, great stuff. That's Jeff Elder out of Wawanesa, Manitoba. We will be back with more of the Farmer Rapid Fire here on Rural Radio 147, brought to you by Corteva Crop Protection.
Find everything you need for outstanding weed control in your wheat and barley from the cross-spectrum herbicide experts at Corteva. Corteva is proud to offer a wide selection of cross-spectrum herbicides for maximum convenience, effective resistance management, and customized control of your toughest grassy and broadleaf weeds. No matter what kind of weed challenges you're experiencing, we've got the right fit for your farm. Visit corteva.ca to learn more.
If you're involved in the agriculture industry, it's important to stay informed on all the latest issues affecting your business. At RealAgriculture.com, we offer fast, reliable news, information, and insights to help you keep on top of all of the latest in Canadian agriculture. Visit RealAgriculture.com and sign up for our free daily newsletter covering everything from news, agronomy, animal agriculture, and much more. Visit RealAgriculture.com/subscribe today.
Up next on the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Corteva Crop Protection, we're going to go to Trochu, Alberta, and we're talking to John Kowalchuk. John, how are we doing?
Good. How about you, Shaun?
Pretty good. Okay. You put any seed in the ground yet?
No, not yet, but getting close. The next, probably either tomorrow or the day after, hoping to start on some wheat. So
okay. Spring wheat going in first.
Yeah, I've been doing that for a few years after listening to Wheat Pete talk about put it into the frost. So it's usually the first one to go in. So
nice. You've had good luck with that?
Yeah, I have actually. Yeah, it's been really good. It's nice to get it out of the way. I used to do peas first and then move on to the wheat, but I found in the past when I've planted peas that actually peas seem to do better. The ground's a little bit warmer and a little bit later. So I've been doing wheat for quite a while actually first. So.
Yeah, I think some of the rules have changed, right? We used to start with the largest seed first, right? It was peas. That's just where we went. And yeah, you got to do what works for your farm. And good, you do some, lack of a better term, like on farm trials to test it out and sort of see before you go whole hog on the whole farm. But it's just interesting how agronomy, we move, right? It changes as we learn more.
Mm-hmm, for sure, yeah, and even just adapting and talking to different people that have tried different things, and you give it a try on your farm, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. It's kind of like my soybeans. I thought, well, soybeans would work great here in Rumsey, but then once I grew them for 5 years and realized that it was kind of hit and miss. So, but you don't know till you try it, right? So,
you did it for 5 years.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I kind of promised myself that first year that I was going to give it a good shot, that I wasn't going to do a one and done. And then you really only got 1 year of data to compare to, right? So any given crop can have a bad year. So I thought, well, I'm going to give it 5 years. So I did 5 years of trials, and it gave me a good range of different weather and different things happening and timing and falls, how they worked, like, because that was during like 2016. So we had that really late fall with all the late moisture and different things to compare it to. Whereas if I'd have just did it the first year, I'd have been like, really, I probably would have quit after the first year because it was my worst year.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of like my neighbor. She has, when you open a type of wine you haven't drank before, she has a 3-sip rule. You have to have 3 sips before you make a decision if you like the bottle or not. Same thing as you in 5 years of soybeans. Kind of the same thing.
Exactly. She probably has more fun with her trials than I do with mine.
Well, there is that. There is that for sure. There is that. Okay. Hey, what else is in the rotation then?
Wheat and barley and canola this year. So no peas again. I've been 2 years without peas. I'm kind of taking a hiatus just with pricing and also disease and that. And we found with peas that the yields were steadily dropping. So I've kind of taken a couple of years off them. So yeah, so pretty basic for me. I've simplified it quite a bit from in the past when I used to grow 7 or 8 different crops and multiple varieties. And the last couple of years, I kind of simplified it just to make my life a little easier. I had some issues, health issues and stuff. So get through that, and it made my life a lot simpler with 3 crops. So.
Yeah, because I remember you were always experimenting and doing different stuff, which is great. But we've also had discussions in the past about the opportunities but challenges of being that one-man band, right?
For sure, yeah. And sometimes you just got to simplify life and that. And I'll get back to doing some other stuff for sure in the future. But right now, I just try to simplify it a bit and make it simpler and work on some other things, other efficiencies. It's more working on farm efficiencies and less about the crops for me the last couple of years. So I've worked on making my life easier, I guess.
Yeah. So what are some of the efficiencies of you? And they can be small things too, right? It's not just all big changes, but what are some of the things you've done to make yourself more efficient?
Well, for sure. Especially during seeding, I've changed the way I deliver seed to the field, and also how I fill my grain or my seed cart and all that too. So that's improved my efficiency, my fill times, and also the amount of trips I have to make to haul trucks and stuff out to the field. I got some under trailer augers, and I used to haul an auger out to the field. So that was right. There's another trip, right? So trying to cut down on the amount of trips when you do move. And so that's probably a big one for seeding. And then at harvest, I worked on centralizing my bins and getting a better setup for my augers, so that there's a little less manpower involved in unloading grain. And so little things like that, just making my life simpler. And I think a lot of farmers are doing it. So,
yeah. Well, simple can be, what is the KISS principle, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. For sure. Yeah. Keep it simple.
Yep. Absolutely. So from a profitability outlook on the year, do things look better than they did, or how would you sum up the year ahead as you're about to take on the 2025 growing season?
Well, for sure. Last year had its challenges, but I think we were ahead of some of the worst of it with some of the marketing. So that made last year easier. This year we're waiting for the market to get to our price. So we've had some luck the last few days here where we've had opportunities. So it's getting better, but I've done little tweaks to my rotation just to move things around to get a little more profitable, but we're seeing opportunities now with canola again, right? So that's good news for new crop September, October delivery. So my optimism has definitely increased over the last week or two. So it's definitely better than it was right when the tariffs kind of hit and everything was hitting us from all sides. And now it seems like we're starting to recover from that and seeing some opportunities. I still think without some of those hits we took early, we'd probably be in a better place than we are right now, but you can't guarantee that. So some of the volatility could be because of that. So you kind of take the good with the bad with marketing, but right now we're finally back, I think, into a profitable zone in, canola anyways, and wheat and malt barley have always been pretty steady. There's little fluctuations. So that part is, pretty consistent. So I wasn't too worried about them. So it's not too bad, I guess. So yeah. I have some optimism, I guess.
And that's good. I think, and people have said in the past number of weeks here, you got to be optimistic in this business, right? So, and with the volatility brings some opportunity, right? And a lot of times we are we hate when the volatility is to the downside, but there can be opportunities when volatilities, we're popping, right? You got a couple of strong days. Yep. It's an opportunity to maybe take a little risk off the table.
Exactly. Yeah. We get the advantage of having some of this volatility, so we got to sometimes take the disadvantage of it too. I guess it's just the other side of it, right?
Any new machinery this year or stuff you traded for?
No, not too much. No, I pretty much status quo. Just the timing of everything with the markets looking a little weaker and that, and not really wanting to extend myself out too much further right now. So I didn't really do the moves I wanted to. I was looking at a different combine for next fall, and that still might happen depending on how the year goes. But right now I'm kind of staying status quo with equipment, and I'm in a good place. The last 5-6 years, I've improved my machinery quite a bit and updated stuff to to where I feel like I'm in a good spot, that part. So I feel pretty good about it.
Like I've heard from a couple of farmers who are like, I don't intend to, but if there's some deals out there and it's in what I need to be maybe looking at, I'm paying attention. I just haven't, made the commitment and don't really want to, but I'm paying attention regardless, right? That's kind of what I've heard from a few people.
For sure. Yeah, guys got to be open to that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So to wrap up here, any predictions or thoughts on next week's election?
Oof. It's so close right now. I just hope we get somebody in there that's going to work on interprovincial trade and strengthen our country. That's all I can hope for, I guess, no matter who gets in. But it's so tight right now that, I wouldn't want to predict it right now. In fact, these guys going on any type of media and trying to guess who's going to be the next prime minister, I don't know. That's pretty risky because it's wide open, and I'm hoping with all this early voting that means people are looking for change, and that would be nice to see. So
early voting is definitely up quite considerably compared to some past elections, indeed. Hey, John, thanks a lot for joining us here today on the Farmer Rapid Fire. Appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks, Shaun.
We'll be back with more of the Farmer Rapid Fire here on Rural Radio 147, brought to you by Corteva Crop Protection.
Right now, people in agriculture and food are facing challenges that can feel overwhelming. If you need to talk, access the National Farm Crisis Line at 1-866-FARMS-01. That's 1-866-327-6701. It's 24/7 confidential help when you need it. Farm Credit Canada also has tools to support your long-term mental health. Learn more and access the crisis line at fcc.ca/wellness.
The Canola School on RealAgriculture.com is your one-stop shop for everything a canola grower needs. Check out our free video series on YouTube for all the latest in canola agronomy, research, marketing, and more. Don't have time to watch? Download the podcast version of the Canola School on RealAgriculture.com or anywhere you download your podcasts. Stay on top of all things canola with the Canola School on RealAgriculture.com, brought to you by BASF and Invigor Hybrid Canola.
And welcome back to RealAg Radio here for the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Corteva Crop Protection. And joining us right now actually is Rhett Duke from Corteva. He is technical sales agronomist for Southern Saskatchewan. Rhett, how are we doing?
Good. How are you doing today, Shaun?
Oh, pretty good. Spring is kind of in the air, a little bit more so anyway.
Yeah. Here down where I am in the southeast corner of Saskatchewan, we actually had the pleasure of about 15 inches of fresh, wet snow here over the last 24 hours. So it's a welcome sight because we're needing the moisture. And I think once this kind of disappears and dries up, I think a lot of the folks should be hitting the field in earnest here quite shortly.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, today we're going to talk about pulse crops and the need to really, protect that foliage, keep it healthy, get it through the growing season, because we know in pulse crops, leaf diseases they're an issue. They prevent yield.
Yeah, you're bang on, Shaun. And one thing that kind of runs through my head is really the recent SAS Pulse disease survey, where they kind of highlighted some startling levels of prevalence in both our lentil and field pea crops here in Saskatchewan. And just to take a bit of data from that talk, 85% of the fields that they sampled in terms of lentils last year all had anthracnose present. And 95% of all field pea crops that they sampled here in Saskatchewan last year all contained Mycosphaerella, or that Ascochyta blight complex.
Wow.
So these two diseases are, really prevalent for us in Saskatchewan and, quite frankly, Western Canada. And they can do a lot of damage in terms of both yield and grain quality reductions for the grower.
So what do we do? Is there, is the simple answer fungicide, or is there other things that we can do?
Yeah, you're bang on. I don't want to straight away jump to, the crop protection product, because any good agronomist is going to start with integrated pest management, right? And I think that starts with having a solid crop rotation, using nice, clean, certified seeds, selecting the right seed treatments, and really having an understanding of what your risk level is on a field by field basis. I think we know that a lot of these crops, they are going to be quite susceptible to both of these diseases. And I think it's just important that we kind of stay on top of them right from the start.
Yeah. Being proactive, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, part of that is making sure we get some good boots on the ground and we start scouting these crops, especially as we reach some more advanced node or growth stages. Ultimately, a lot of the fungicide options we have, Shaun, we need to make sure we're getting them on preventatively. We don't want to wait until that field is chock full of disease until we roll in with that fungicide pass.
And we're talking pulse crops here, but really, I don't care if it's that beautiful canola field behind you or it's a cereal crop. It's the same challenge. Yeah,
you're bang on. And I think, the way I look at it, the nice part when we think about pulses, we still got a real issue with root rot or phenomyces. And unfortunately, growers, we don't have a lot of good solutions for those right now. Their prevalence is obviously really, really high too. But we are quite fortunate to have a number of tools at our disposal to help us manage both anthracnose, mycosphaerella, and a number of other leaf diseases in our pulse crops here in Western Canada.
Yeah. And some people are like, man, kind of early to talk about this, isn't it, guys?
Yeah, I would agree with a bit of snow on the ground looking out the window right now. But what I would say is you don't want to get caught behind the 8 ball, get that crop out of the ground, get thinking about in-crop herbicides, and then potentially miss the boat on a well-timed fungicide application. I think the way I look at it is if you've managed to produce that nice dense crop, you're looking at a high level of leaf wetness, kind of midday. Market price is looking pretty favorable for you. You kind of scan that 5-day forecast, you're seeing some rain come in. I think in a lot of cases, it's going to pay dividends for that grower to choose and select the right fungicide for the operation and make that pass.
Rhett, is there any options from Corteva in terms of managing disease?
Yeah, Shaun, we actually have a brand new product that we recently launched into Western Canada called Zetigo PRM, and it's powered by a brand new Group 21 Adavelt active. This active ingredient's never been seen before here in Western Canada, and it's really going to offer growers a powerful solution for managing leaf diseases in pulse crops such as chickpea, lentil, field pea, as well as faba beans. So if you haven't asked any questions or heard about it, please, I encourage you to reach out to your retail or your local Corteva AgriScience rep, and we'd be happy to tell you more.
You getting excited to go and walk some fields?
Yeah, it'll be nice to break out of the office here. As an agronomist, spend a lot of time on calls like this and in-person trainings over the winter months. And in a few short weeks here, I'll be spending most of my time on the road and most of my time in the fields. So definitely looking forward to that.
Before we wrap up here, Rhett, what are some of the things you've heard the most from some of your internal team at Corteva or farmer customers you're talking to as we lead into the season? What is there key things or hot topics are being asked about a lot?
Right now it's kind of just all over the board. I think a lot of people are at different phases of the planning cycle. And, I think in my role right now, you're never surprised to get a question about fungicides before we start the season, or maybe even a week or two's time here, some questions about seed treatment before stuff hits the field. But I think at the end of the day, having your plan kind of ironed down, well thought through, and then quite frankly, sticking to that plan is going to alleviate a lot of that in-season stress and that kind of hecticness that we typically run through as we get the season off to a good start.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, Rhett, thanks a lot for joining us here today on the Farmer Rapid Fire, and all the best to you in the spring here, okay?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Shaun.
Once again, consider cross-spectrum herbicides from Corteva, checking all the boxes for cereal growers. Cross-spectrum herbicides deliver grass and broadleaf weed control in a powerful all-in-one solution. You can learn more at Corteva.ca. If you have any feedback on today's show, we'd love to hear from you. Send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com. Thanks so much, everybody, for getting real and getting connected with RealAg Radio. Cheers.